Hi, thank you for joining us. I'm Councilman Ed Shadid from Ward 2 in Oklahoma City, and I have with us Shannon Davis of Family Builders, a very special nonprofit doing extraordinary work here in Oklahoma City. Shannon, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about the mission of Family Builders and your role there in the organization?
Sure. I've served Family Builders for about 2 years. I'm the Director of Development and Community Outreach. We have been around as an organization since 1976. We were originally founded as Parents Assistance Center and changed our name last year to more accurately reflect what we do. Our mission is pretty simple. It sounds simple, although it's not. Our mission is to strengthen families to prevent child abuse, neglect, and family violence. And we do that by training parents and giving people tools that they need for more healthy relationships.
Can you talk about maybe the state of affairs? I mean, in terms of family violence, it's been said that we lead the nation in physical and sexual violence towards children.
We do, and towards women. This is not a great state to live in if you're a woman or a child. The statistics are pretty grim. We know based on DHS statistics from 2012 that every day in Oklahoma, 26 children are confirmed as victims of some form of abuse. And you have probably heard that recently we were ranked 3rd in the nation for the number of women that are killed by a domestic partner. Right. Those aren't good statistics. Those aren't the place that we want to be as Oklahomans and as a state. And so our job at Family Builders is to stop abuse.
Let me ask you, you mentioned the number of women killed. Is there a particular time or scenario that's particularly high risk for homicides towards women and domestic violence?
Typically, a woman is in most danger when she's trying to leave or has just left. That is one reason that what we do, while there are great organizations that focus on the victims and provide victim services and advocate for those victims, and we partner with those organizations, what we do is focus on the root of the abuse. We actually focus on the abuser themselves. We don't believe that you can stop abuse until you get at the root of it. It's just like a weed. You pull the weed out, but don't get the root, it's going to happen again. It's going to spring up again. And so we work with the Attorney General's office in providing a certified 52-week batterers intervention program that teaches perpetrators of domestic violence a different way of thinking and a different way of interacting in their relationships. It's an intensive program and has been likened to programs like AA or NA that are long-term. People have to take ownership of what they're dealing with and change their lives so that their families' lives are changed.
So that's typically court-ordered?
Typically court-ordered. By state statute, it's a program that our clients pay for themselves, so they have to be invested in it. They are coming to us and have to be ready to make changes in the way that they think, the way that they deal with people in their lives. It's pretty powerful when you see the change that it can have on someone. We had a young man who finished our program last year, and when he did his exit interview, what he told us was that in the past he had gone home and everybody would run from him and hide. His kids wouldn't want to be around him. After finishing the program with us, which took over a year, he goes home and his kids jump all over him and love on him. And he looked our program director in the eyes and said, "You all made me the man that I want my son to be." That's what Family Builders is about. That's why we changed our name. We are really about building and rebuilding those relationships that have been broken and torn apart by abuse and violence and creating a whole family again.
That's fantastic. What if addiction and substance abuse was part of the equation?
Very often they are, and those are things that our clients have to deal with. Before they can start dealing with their parenting or with their relationship issues, they have to take care of addictions first. Someone who is using can't make good choices, can't make life-changing decisions about how they're going to think about other people. They have to really work on those issues. Very often, too, what we see is many of our clients come to us and are repeating a cycle of abuse that they experienced in their growing up years. That is often part of the reason for their substance abuse if they have a substance abuse issue. So they maybe grew up in a home where they watched violence happen or violence happened to them. They're repeating that cycle. Our job is to stop that cycle, and so we work together with other agencies, with other organizations to help make sure those families and those clients get all the help that they need in order to stop that cycle for their families and their children.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you do with sexual abuse of children, how common it is and what kind of work?
Sure. And I want to make it clear, we do not provide program for sexual abusers. Our parenting programs are geared towards physical, emotional, and abuse and neglect. There are other organizations in our city and in our state that are more able to deal with someone who has a problem of sexually abusing someone. Who we do see are often our clients whose children have been sexually abused by someone else. And we are retraining them in order to teach them how to better protect their children and create a safe, nurturing, loving environment for them. We know the statistics are pretty scary when it comes to sexual abuse. It's 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused by the time they're 18. Oh. And as parents, we often start worrying when we take our kids to the park or we take them to the movies where we're struggling with, oh my goodness, what if a stranger comes and snatches my kid? The truth is 90% of the time sexual abuse happens with someone that the child and the family know and trust. It's not usually that stranger on the street or in the dark somewhere. It's a teacher, a coach, a family member even. Sometimes it's an older child. And so we work with parents who come to our building, and then we're also going out into the community to teach parents how to better protect their children from those issues.
How common, if a child was sexually abused, how commonly would they report that?
Oh, a child, typically the statistics tell us that only about 1 in 10 children will tell about abuse, and that's particularly true with sexual abuse because there's so much shame. And often children don't understand what has happened to them. They don't know it's abuse, or an abuser is telling them don't tell or something awful will happen to you and to your family. So it's only 1 in 10 children who actually tell. And what's interesting is out of that 1 in 10 who tell, 70% of those children tell on accident. They don't mean to tell, they just say something that an adult picks up on.
So if it's 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys by the time they're 18, it just seems like it's incredibly common. Hundreds of thousands of people, and yet there's very little discussion about the topic.
We haven't talked about it as a society, as a community. Every time I go somewhere and speak and talk about these issues, I always have at least one person who comes up to me and says, okay, I was one of that 90% who doesn't tell. That happened to me. That was my family. It was my uncle. It was my coach. It was my youth minister. And we have to be a community and a society where we're able to talk about these difficult things, where we're able to prepare our children, not to scare them, but to prepare them for making sure that they know how to keep themselves safe and that we're not putting them in situations where they can't do that. We just have to be able to talk about it. There is not shame. There's not shame for those victims. And so we need to be willing to stand up and say so.
It seems like it has a snowball effect. As people come out and talk about it, the shame and stigma lose their power.
Correct.
So that the more we talk about it, the more everyone will feel comfortable coming out, talking about it, and maybe we can push the conversation and find more solutions.
Absolutely. And as an organization, we have dedicated some significant resources to providing some trainings that we would be happy to come and do in the community. We'll go anywhere anybody who's willing to invite us to talk about this and to help parents understand what their role is and making sure their children stay safe. We also are able to go in and talk to people that work with children in schools and churches. after-school programs, daycare centers, and train those people how to recognize signs of abuse and what their legal obligation is in reporting that abuse. In Oklahoma, the law is that if any person who suspects that abuse is happening has to report it. And the truth is only about 30% of mandated reporters truly report.
Wow.
We see that all the time. Somebody that says, oh yeah, I knew something was going on, but I wasn't sure. I just didn't want to, didn't want to stick my nose where it didn't belong. And we all have to be about the business of protecting children. We all have to be willing to talk about it. And then providing those resources for those families to rebuild their lives when the abuse has happened.
How would, if a family was having difficulty but didn't necessarily have trouble with the law, they could come to you proactively and ask
Sure,
for your help?
we take self-referrals into our parenting programs, and we charge on a sliding scale based on income. So we don't want that to be a barrier to people that are struggling. Parenting and raising your children, that is a learned skill.
Right.
And at some point, all parents need help. I have 3 daughters myself, and there have been moments that I was pulling my hair out.
Right.
We've all experienced
Yes.
that. And so we want to be an organization that parents are able and willing to turn to when they need help. Sometimes it's just needing somebody to say, you know what, you're on the right track. You're doing okay.
Right.
Sometimes you need somebody to say, you know what you're expecting of that 12-year-old probably isn't appropriate. Let's expect something a little different. But whatever it takes, we believe that the more people who are willing to talk about it, to seek help, to speak up, that's how we create a better society, because we're creating better families.
How would a family and parents find you?
Sure. Well, our office is located in downtown Oklahoma City. We're on 5th Street between Walker and Hudson, right across from the Metro Transit station.
Right.
But you can go to our website and see all of the programs that we offer and ways to get a hold of us. Our website is familybuildersok.org. And then, of course, we welcome phone calls. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Familybuildersok.org. Okay. What about families that are going through divorce and just trying to navigate how to co-parent or have the child have the best outcome?
Yeah, what we see with divorcing families is very often the parents, even unknowingly, sort of put the child or the children in the middle.
Right.
And so we have recently started offering a co-parenting through divorce class that meets for 4 hours on a Saturday. And you can actually go online and register for that through our website.
Do you have an online course, or you can register?
You register online and then attend for 4 hours on a Saturday. And it is a great opportunity for parents to understand some of those emotional issues that a child is going to go through. When you're going through a divorce as a parent, you're looking at it through adult eyes.
Right.
Kids look at it through kids' eyes. And so if both parents are able to go through that course and see and hear exactly the same things about what their kids could be going through, it just creates a much better situation for the whole family and doesn't put that child in the middle. And then neither parent has unhealthy expectations about what that child can or can't do in that particular situation.
So do you think it would be a fair statement to say that a child's psychological outcome would be closely correlated with how much conflict they're exposed to, how much they're put in the middle between the two divorcing parents?
Absolutely. And children are sort of self-centered developmentally by nature. They feel like the world revolves around them. So when something happens that's detrimental in their lives, whether it's divorce, death, anything, they really feel like they caused it. It's their fault in some way. And so one of the biggest things that parents can do is talk to those children and understand that that child is taking on a whole lot of responsibility for a situation that isn't their fault.
Right. Well, I just want to express gratitude for the great work your organization is doing. Again, it's on 5th and Hudson.
Yes.
familybuildersok.org.
Right.
Great.
Thank you so much for having us today.
And thank you for watching and joining us.